This Coast to Coast Entertainment Network program is brought to you by Beside Me Bracelets. Our bracelets are handmade for any occasion. Use the promo code Coast to Coast for 15% off. Visit their website at besideme.com. Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry. With 24-hour shopping available, use the code 160920 and show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts. Like us on Facebook and get crafting today. Reaper Apparel Company. A commitment to live your most authentic way every single day. Visit reaperapparelco.com for more information and a look at all of their apparel offerings. And by Good Day Embroidery, your local source for custom embroidery, screen printing, and more. Log on to gooddayembroidery.com for more information.
I'll tell you what, that was a intro to get us started for sure. Tonight I should say, is Sports Minute here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am James, of course, and the other co-host of the show here is Crispy Bacon. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. A lot going on in sports, especially in football, and I think it's going to be an interesting discussion between college and the pros.
Yeah, today just by itself, it was something to behold, and at different times as well. We had some major breaking news today. We'll get to all of it and the connections that we'll have. Hopefully we'll be joined by Brandon Herrera soon. That tonight Ace Adam is out, I believe, with sickness, so hopefully he'll get better with that, as I'm getting over something and still having allergies and cold and all that. It's just that time of year. Everyone I know is getting sick. So let's run down the programming real quick. So tomorrow we'll be kicking it with Isaiah and Ace. Friday will be Entertainment Hour. Saturday will be hopefully a special edition of Morning Tailgate, as we'll preview the Super Wildcard Weekend. Because there's games Saturday, Sunday, and one Monday night just for fun. Monday night, what is the new show? Not For Bros, but it is Man Code. Bro Code. There we go. So Bro Code. Make sure you tune into that new show or revived show there. Also Between the Ropes, and then Sports Minute right here. Creeping It Real, and then Roundtable should be back sometime this month or next month. That'll be very interesting, having as many people as we can on one show, talking about certain topics and getting to whatever here. All right, so let's get to our topics tonight for Sports Minute here. Just follow, subscribe, and just share and comment on all the shows here. So Nick Saban, the head coach, or former head coach now, of the Alabama Crimson Tide for football, he is gone. He decided just to quit. He had so many years, I think, left on his contract, to be honest with you. And it just shocked everyone because he won six national titles there at Alabama. Last one was in 2020. He had a great season, I think, with the Tide this year, because they lost their first game against Texas, but then ran the table up until the semifinal of the college football playoff a couple of weeks ago against Michigan at the Rose Bowl. And, it was just real shocking because he's been there since 2007 after that 1 year with the Miami Dolphins that didn't go so well.
He was there 2005 to 2000, 2005, 2006 he was there.
I'm thinking that one man Bobby Petrino, who coached the Falcons,
Arkansas.
and he didn't even finish the year. And he ended up in Arkansas when he didn't. He told Arthur Blank, of the owner of the Falcons, "Yeah, I'm not going to go anywhere." And all of a sudden, he's doing a press conference, yelling "Pig Suey."
But to be fair, wasn't all that allegations with Vic going on when he was coach?
Who, Petrino?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then he had that affair going on, and then he had the motorcycle crash at the same time, and then he ended up leaving. The whole thing with Nick Saban at Miami, he just was he was trying to coach NFL players like it was college, and I think that's why it didn't work out. So he went back from he went to LSU, before that Michigan State, I believe, and then he ended up in with the Dolphins in Alabama, and they got back on track, did the Tide. He had one championship with LSU before six
He
with...
also had one with Toledo. Oh, no, maybe it wasn't. He started out in Toledo.
Oh, Toledo, that's right. Yeah, he probably had some conference championships, but he won 297 wins. He had 4 Heisman Trophy winners, 10 SEC championships, and 8 playoff appearances in the 10 years of its exception with the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think he won 80.6% of his games in
That's pretty good.
yeah, and that's why he got paid so much. I believe he signed an extension recently that would have been good until I think 27 or 28, 29. And it would have been amazing for him to stay. He's 72 years old. So I'll ask you, Chris, before I have mine. What did you think about the shocking news this afternoon? I believe it was, at least for me, that Nick Saban just quit at Alabama.
Yeah, I find it interesting. What was it? 2 weeks after that Michigan loss, he probably had a sit down, thought about it, and was like, you know what, I'm retired, or is he? Because I'm smelling a little bit, something in the air. Whereas he could go to New England. I mean, there's reports of Belichick could be leaving. He's doing his interviews and meetings and all that. But if he happens to leave, I'm sure he could probably pick his successor. And who better than Nick Saban? They know each other. You could probably lure back Patricia from the Eagles to go to New England. I mean, it kind of lines up pretty interesting, and maybe you could bring somebody else that Saban coached under, maybe Kiffin. I don't know, but something's in the water.
That would be all amazing, and it would fit. The connections are there, basically, but the relationships I'm not sure of just anymore. I know Kiffin maybe would want to stay far away from Saban, but that'd be also a chance to go back to the NFL for Kiffin. So that'd be interesting if that did happen, because I never thought about until we were talking earlier tonight about that. How you mentioned, oh yeah, the Patriots job is open, maybe if Belichick decides to quit, or just or he's ousted out. But it's interesting to note if that's a possibility. Look, 17 years at one place for someone is a long time, and when you get paid for it, and when you're winning, it feels like you're just solid there. You don't want to go anywhere. But there has to be motivation for him to quit. I mean, all year long, I've heard his interviews on the McAfee show, and always felt like he was saying the same things over and over. He's a student of the game. He keeps everybody in line and in check and focus for a game. So you have to really admire that someone that is their life. My thing is, I'm trying to think if he was just sick of all of the recruiting or the process of it all with the NIL deals. Maybe he didn't want to continue with that because in between, the time off from the SEC championship and the Rose Bowl, he was out recruiting in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and he was talking about the rigors of just going back and forth trying to recruit kids, and now there's money involved. I don't know if he just had enough of that. The chore of just getting the team into the playoff this year. Maybe that was the reason.
Or maybe he just didn't want to deal with the 12-team playoff next year.
Yeah, and I know he was I don't think he liked it when he mentioned it. I'm trying to remember what he said.
But he didn't like the transfer portal either. But he worked with.
Maybe just too much, at one time for someone who's just enjoyed the way everything was. That's all I could really think that it was with Nick Saban. So his time is up at Alabama, and already we have maybe his replacement. Maybe Dan Lanning is the head coach at Oregon, but he has a direct connection to Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. His buyout would cost $20 million, but he would definitely make that up. He's reportedly eyeing the Alabama head coaching position, and thanks to Ace for bringing that into the light. Since the retirement of Saban, just one name is gaining traction, and that's Dan Lanning there. He's 37 years of age. He completed his second season in Oregon. He went 22-5 there so far at Oregon. He had Bo Nix there, and they finished 12-2. They had they beat Liberty 45-6 in the Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Day. He's known for high energy and an upbeat personality and aggressive nature. So I guess he would work out there at Alabama, but he gambles a lot in games. So I know in the SEC, especially now with adding Oklahoma and Texas, that only makes the schedule tougher. So the pressure would be on him even more. He spent 4 years with Kirby Smart at Georgia, so there's another connection with Saban, because Saban had Kirby Smart with him in some of those championship years at Alabama. So I'm really intrigued if this happens, because if so, this would make sense. What do you think about this?
I mean, it does make sense. There's a lot of connections. I feel like we could play like a detective and do the, have the board out with the, Nick Saban in the middle, the coaches and the lines and the, where everybody could go and, this connection, that connection kind of thing. But it's going to be interesting. The off season usually is interesting with coaching hires, whether it's, assistants or a head coach. But I think it's going to be fun, and we'll just see what happens.
So Lanning is under contract at Oregon through 2030 at more than $8 million a year after receiving a 1-year extension back in November of this year, or this last season. He said earlier in the month, though, that there was zero chance that he was leaving the Oregon Ducks for any other job, and then especially at the time, I remember this, for Texas A&M, because Jumbo Fisher was fired and he's owed all that money. And Lanning assured the Oregon folks that, hey, I'm not going to go anywhere. He said, I made it real clear from day one. Everything I want exists here. I'm not going anywhere. There's zero chance that I would be coaching anywhere else. I have unfinished business here, and there's a lot I want to accomplish. You know how I mentioned, of course, earlier Bobby Petrino, how he said he would never leave the Falcons, and he didn't finish the season. So, I'll tell you what, one thing that's really never changed in college football is the rate that the coaches leave, and then the lies that they have saying, okay, I would never leave. I feel so comfortable here. Well, looks like we'll have another one of those on our hands. So speaking of former college coaches and NFL coaches, in the morning, I think it was around 11 a.m. my time, so 1 year time here.
Yeah.
Pete Carroll is out as head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. He was there after 14 seasons. He took the Seahawks from pretty much the bottom of the NFC West to contenders and then title contenders, and he ended up winning a Super Bowl championship back in 2014. And then he's had stellar players throughout. It was amazing because you would think he'd be there the whole time. He'll serve as a team advisor, but to me, I felt like what went wrong in Seattle, I guess, is a question.
Yeah,
I'll have to you, but for me, I just think the message probably got away from the players after a while. When you're there so long, but then the players that used to be there are gone. You have new players that came in, and maybe just the message wasn't getting through. That's all I could think of what happened with Pete Carroll. Maybe he lost his touch a little bit. His enthusiasm never changed. He's the same age as Pete Carroll. I mean, Nick Saban at 72 years of age. But what's amazing, though, it took a couple of days because we were going to have that, crazy Monday where everybody gets fired. But it took a few days, and I think Pete Carroll was given that right to say, hey, let me have a few days. I think he did mention that he still wanted to coach, but he wasn't sure. And then he made this decision today. He said he mutually agreed to set a new course. He competed pretty hard to remain the coach, but he went along with the intentions of the team and John Snyder, the GM of the Seahawks. So he pretty much was given, no chance to keep that head coaching job. But at least he'll be an advisor in some way with the Seahawks. So what's your thought about Pete Carroll, and then what went wrong with Seattle after a while? Remember, Russell Wilson and Carroll kind of had their little thing at the end of his tenure with the Seahawks. So what went wrong, you think, in Seattle?
I don't know if anything particular went wrong. I feel like maybe, like you said, the turnaround of players, either going to another team or retiring or whatever the situation is. I think the players that you initially had, they're now gone, and maybe the message that you gave them really did resonate with them, but after hearing it year after year, almost the same speech, maybe there's a little bit of difference each year, but the same message comes across. I think that it kind of gets old and stale, and there's nothing new and outlandish kind of thing. But I think that could have been it, and then maybe the style of coaching could be almost like college. I mean, that could be it, but maybe it just got to him. I don't know.
It's interesting to note. After this, the Seattle Seahawks are interested in Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. He served as Seahawks assistant from 2009 to 10, and then was the defensive coordinator in 2013 and 14. I think that would be an obvious connection and fit. I know it would hinder your team, but it just seemed like that would be a perfect fit there. Their defense, Seattle, they need kind of a shot. They need something. They need to be put in the right place because it seemed like they were getting ran over and thrown over this season. You know, they had a great season last year defensively, but for some reason this year they just ran out of whatever they were doing. And maybe with a new direction, a new voice, maybe the Seahawks can get back on track. But I think offensively too, they have to figure out their quarterback position. Uh, they got to get the ball to all the receivers instead of one, pretty much a game. They have some great young talent on their team, and maybe they just need that little injection of of not youth, but just someone different with a different message. That's all I could really think about in Seattle. So, speaking of the Cowboys, they'll be in the Super Wild Card weekend, but one game on Saturday night will be exclusively on the Peacock app. It'll be the Miami Dolphins to face the Kansas City Chiefs. There's been a lot of criticism ever since that came out on Sunday, saying like, "Hey, this is terrible that this game isn't on open and free TV. It's the playoffs. That game really matters." To me, I'm thinking about it. I'm saying, man, that if the Dolphins were fully, full strength, healthy, this would really be a better game. But and then the Chiefs haven't been as impressive this year. I think it was a lot of the Swifties too that were outraged in a way, but they stream everything now, so I don't think they'll have a problem finding the game. They just have to pay for it, and I think people just don't want to keep paying for stuff. And you know how people are paying for Sunday Ticket on YouTube now. It's going to be more streaming. But Chris, do you like that this game is on the Peacock app and it's just the wave of the future? Or do you find it annoying that you won't be able to find it on, regular television?
I mean, in general, it is the way of the future. Everything's pretty much going to streaming, whether it's, NFL, wrestling. There's, baseball and soccer on Apple TV Plus, and, all of the stuff. Sadly, it is the way of the future. I'm sure people that don't have it will find a way to, get password from people and watch it that way. Especially if it's a one-time thing. They're like, I don't want Peacock, but I need it for this specific game or this specific reason. As with the game like the Chiefs and you have Patrick Mahomes, I'm okay that it's on Peacock, but I feel like you need to stream it on like NBC or one of your other NBC partners. Because it's Patrick Mahomes. I don't think they would do that if it was Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Tom Brady would be front and center, ESPN, maybe on a Monday night.
Just like last year against your Cowboys.
Right. And, I mean, in a way, they're trying to make it a one-stop shop for, like you said, the Taylor Swift fans.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, people that have Peacock, I don't think it's going to be an issue. But because everything's now on streaming, it's going to be getting too expensive to get everything. You're going to have to pick and choose what you want.
Yeah, I noticed the NBA might be in a way where they might have a game of the week on Apple, just like the MLB does and MLS does. And then on the Peacock app, MLB
Desert morning one.
Yeah, they have that Sunday morning baseball. It's usually East Coast games, but sometimes the Angels will be on there, the Padres and the Dodgers. But it's always like in the East Coast time. And that's just baseball. There's so many games though in baseball that it's like, okay, I don't want to pay for something.
And they'll do it like at the first half or second half of the season. It's not all year long.
Right. That's the good part. I'm dreading the days like when everything will get streamed and we could have, internet shut down and all that too. So it's like, what would you do with that? But I think it's fortunate though that they picked this game because of the injuries. Even though the names are there with a couple of the teams are there, some of the names are really good, but the thing is, the game might not be as good. At least you have Tyreek Hill going back to Kansas City, but if Kansas City basically shuts them down, that game's going to be really boring. It's going to be cold, like 2 degrees, and maybe it won't be as sexy to watch as the other games. I know Monday night will be awful, but at least it will be on, ESPN, ESPN2, ABC. You can find it. But
and if you do have you can, I think, stream it on ESPN Plus, but
the Monday night game, yeah.
Or your local ABC.
Yeah, that's the good part. I guess that's the only good part about the writer strike.
Well,
with
they're
all
going to do it
these.
next season too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good though.
Christy Wilson saying not impressed by the fact that the Chiefs Dolphins game will be on Peacock, even though I do have that streaming service.
Like, just imagine your internet ain't working, and all of a sudden you're like, well, got to use my mobile data or listen to the game somehow, or just find the highlights later.
Now, I can't remember. I know the NFL Plus app. They show games.
But they're all local
No,
games or Thursday night, I want to say.
No, if you sign up for their, I think, yearly, I can't remember what it is, but their yearly package, you can get the NFL Network, NFL Red Zone, and you can get the games, but I think your local teams will be blacked out.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know if only Peacock games you could stream on, or I might test that out. But
I think they just said
ESPN
exclusively.
games you can. Right, but
yeah. So I think if you have NFL Plus, you'll be out of luck with this one. But whatever you can find locally, you can get on there. At least that was for the regular season.
And you can watch it the next day or whenever it ends on or NFL Plus.
That's why I noticed too with the Thursday night games. Excuse me, they show it like a half an hour, no, probably an hour after they show the replay of it. So at least you can, watch it then. But then if you're on your phone, you're eventually going to get all the notifications. You're going to get people messaging you about the game, especially if you're a fan of one of those.
And you're like, dang it.
Yeah, you don't want to know. It's like the old days where you would tape a game. Yeah. So that's the NFL problems for Saturday. Now let's switch our attention the last couple of topics here with the National Basketball Association and the NBA team reports. Usually Brandon would be here with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Ace would come here with the Detroit Pistons. I can tell you the Pistons took on the Spurs tonight in a matchup that had the two worst teams record-wise. I think the Pistons lost to the Spurs. The Spurs get their 6th win of the year, and the Pistons are 3 and I believe now 35 on the season. 3 and 35. but Wemby
Yep.
had a good night. But man, that was amazing because I saw the cheapest ticket for that game, I believe, in Detroit was, I want to say, $5 or $20, and then the courtside seat was $400. So it's kind of a throwback to yesteryear with those tickets in Detroit tonight. All right, so since you're a Dallas Maverick fan, I see that they've kind of
I
struggled.
am.
They are in the 7th spot. They
Yeah.
would be in the play-in tournament right now. So what's up with the Dallas Mavericks?
I mean, the good thing is you had an earlier run on games that you've won. That kind of helps. Um, I think all of this stuff maybe with the negotiations of Cuban signing, and maybe that's not truly the reason why, but I kind of correlate that with it. And then I think at one point you had Luka and a few other players out with injuries. Uh, it's just been a rocky up and down year, and maybe we'll get back to the top 6 spots and hopefully not be in the playoff or the playing tournament. There's still a lot of basketball to go.
Yeah, looking at their record 22-16, they're still second in the Southwest Division, which is amazing considering that they're 7th. But they've had winning streaks here and there, but lately they've been losing 2, winning 2, winning 1, losing 1. So that's kind of helter skelter. And then of course not having Kyrie Irving really
Yeah.
hurts. Because he's supposed to be the guy next to Luka. I mean, Luka pretty much is doing everything. And the one thing I do like about Luka, and it's great with all the European players, but they had this video. I don't know if you saw it. I think it was a reel somewhere. There was the end of the game, and they just lost to whomever. But he's walking off the court pissed off. The jersey over his head or whatever. And then his Maverick teammates are like shaking hands and dapping up the opponents. So you could just tell it's two different mindsets with Luka compared to the other players, the American players on the team. It's amazing though to see the difference. I mean, I see that with Jokic as well. So looking at your schedule coming up, there was a loss against Memphis on Tuesday. Tomorrow, I think this is no, it's not a TNT game. It should have been. It is.
Stars were on TNT tonight, but
the Dallas. Yeah, I did catch a little of that. Your next games coming up. You host New York. You host New Orleans on a back-to-back, but you miss a day. Which I love that in the schedule, by the way. How certain road teams come in and you just play them twice and that's it. It's more efficient for the schedule.
yeah.
You have the Lakers in LA and in San Francisco, Golden State. Those are national televised games. And then to finish up the month, you're hosting Boston, you're hosting Phoenix, and that's also a national televised game. I mean, that's a pretty tough schedule right here. You have playoff opponents up until Atlanta, and then you get Sacramento, Orlando, and Minnesota to finish the season, or finish the month, excuse me. Then you end up playing Philadelphia and Milwaukee. So it's a really tough schedule, and Kyrie Irving, I don't think he'll be back for any of this, but they truly need him.
At this point, I'm used to him being on the sidelines.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, but it is. Christie is saying that the Clippers signed Kawhi Leonard to an extension.
Yeah, so That was really shocking news when I got up in the morning and doing my routine stuff, reading and watching stuff, and no one really reported on it. I think I found it on Instagram, and I guess I'm really happy in that because of the new was it the new what do you call it? The new rules in place that players can't sit out as much. So I think that kind of gives me a little bit of assurance there, knowing that he'll be in the new building, the Intuit Dome in Inglewood.
That's gonna be interesting. I've seen like renderings and project updates on that. That's looking cool.
Yeah, it's more of a it's hopefully going to be a louder spot for the fans there, and hopefully it's going to be more of a college atmosphere. I mean, the owner Steve Ballmer mentioned that they're going to have one side of the arena, one of the sidelines, be just a wall, and basically you stand the whole time. It's like one of those soccer atmospheres,
Right.
but in an NBA arena. So that'd be interesting, and luckily he'll be there, and Paul George should be there, hopefully. Clippers, though, right now, they are 23-13. Currently, they are playing the Toronto Raptors, and with 3:30 to go in the fourth, they lead 117-108. They're playing Kawhi's old team, make it 119-108 with 3:20 to go. So they are probably on to their to 2 straight wins. They had a pretty interesting January. They had 3 wins to start January, 4 out of 5 to start the new year. They went on winning streaks of 8 and 6 this year, respectively. So that's been really good to see. The schedule coming up before I get to the players, they go to Memphis, they go to Minnesota, which should be very interesting against the Timberwolves. They're number 1 in the West. They host host Oklahoma City, Brooklyn, and then the Lakers again. And then they go on the Grammy road trip because the Crypto.com arena will be used. They go to Toronto, Boston, Cleveland, Washington, Detroit, Miami, Atlanta. After this season, they don't have to worry about making that trip. The Lakers would have to worry about making those trips. So that's going to be good. And they don't have to play their games like at a matinee time anymore whenever they do go to the new place next year. So that'll be good. They'll have a more balanced schedule, and players will get more rest before a game. Player-wise, I know everyone was talking about how James Harden was not fitting into the Clippers, and lately he has been. He's been assisting on plays, but he hasn't lost his scoring touch, his system touch. He's been working with all the players very well. And Russell Westbrook, he made the ultimate sacrifice by coming off the bench. I mean, you thought that was going to be an issue, and at first it was, because Harden came and said, "Hey, I don't come off the bench. I'm a system by myself." And I think Westbrook, I guess he felt less pressure coming off the bench, and it's been working out because now everybody is set in their place, and everybody's doing their job. Everybody's getting their point averages. The bench is young, but they're playing pretty well. The only down spot about this team is PJ Tucker. You know him as James Harden's best friend. Mm-hmm. He collects all the shoes or whatever. Real defensive stopper, but he hasn't played in any games in a month or two. He's basically just sitting at the end of the bench, laughing, joking with others, but he hasn't played. It's kind of a waste of space. He's not really doing anything. I expect maybe him to get traded or released or cut unless James Harden wants him just to hang out with him. But other from that, everything else has been working. As right now, it's 119, 115. Toronto making their way back. A minute 28 left in the fourth. Right now, Clippers trying to hold on and get their 24th win of the season. They are currently fourth place in the Western Conference. I think in a ranking that somebody had out of the top 5 teams, they are fifth in the NBA rankings, and one of them I saw. So that was really good to see. All right, so keeping the NBA theme alive, I know Ace had, I think, 3 shows ago or 2 shows ago, we named our top 5 NBA centers of all time. Now I want to get to the power forwards, and hopefully, others will come on here and name theirs whenever they get a chance. So I'll let you go first, Chris, because I haven't even. I'm looking at mine. I haven't even put them together, but I guess you could name either your favorite or the best, what you think of all time, of the top 5 power forwards in the NBA.
Yeah, so I was thinking about this. Gave it some thought, and it's kind of hard to create a top 5 of anything, because at times you have to think about it. But I think I might have a good list. Number 5 would be probably Julius Randle from the Knicks. 4 would be Bam.
You mean of this year?
Well, we could do this year. I don't.
Oh, okay. Because I was doing all time.
I was just thinking of. I think in general.
Yeah, go ahead this year. Yeah. Go ahead with this year, because there's a lot out there.
Bam Adebayo from the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Tatum from the Celtics. Anthony Davis from the Lakers. And Giannis. I won't even go to the last name, but
that's amazing. I don't think of Tatum as a as a power forward, but maybe they went kind of shorter with their lineup, I'm guessing, with Boston. So Porzingis is I guess would be center. Wow. I didn't even think about that. So my top 5 NBA power forwards, I'll say of all time. Damn it. I'm between Charles Barkley and Giannis, because Giannis already has a championship. He's just awesome. Charles Barkley was too. Both are, MVPs in their rank. So I guess I'll give the nod just to Giannis, because, he's won a championship. He's one of the unique players of all time. I love Charles Barkley, though. So that, I guess, 5A, 5B.
Analyst.
Yeah, I love him as an analyst. I mean, he's awesome. Number 4, Kevin Garnett. I just feel like he spearheaded one team to relevance with the Timberwolves, and then was part of the Big 3 in Boston, and they got a championship, and that was well deserved. One of the most powerful rim attackers ever in the NBA. Number 3 would be Dirk Nowitzki. Him and Cuban pretty much put the Mavericks back on the map. For so many years they were awful in the 90s. Basically, they had one playoff appearance in the 90s, and in 1990, the rest of the years they didn't have one, and they kept drafting high. They got this kid that actually the Bucks drafted Dirk, but traded him to the Mavericks. It would have been interesting to see if that was any different. And then also with Luka, remember the Hawks, I think, drafted Luka, but traded him to Dallas for Trae Young. So it's amazing how the Dallas franchise could look a little different, and probably uh, not have won as much, I guess.
Right.
So Dirk, with his scoring ability, that fall away jumper off 1 foot, basically not single handedly, but with all the other veterans, how they beat the Big Three in 2011 in the finals of Miami, that was amazing. Just all the scoring records that Dirk has. He is basically the Dallas Mavericks. Number 2, Karl Malone. I mean, he was powerful. I mean, this dude scored all the points. He had the scoring record for a while, the rebound record. He was part of that Utah duo with John Stockton. So Karl Malone is number 2 in my mind, even though he ain't in championship, but his numbers just put him above some of them. Number 1 would be Tim Duncan. 5 championship rings, and he's a master of that bank shot, big fundamental. He's considered, one of the best players fundamentally ever. Just powerful in a way, but had a little touch to everything. So that was really great to see. By the way, the Clippers did win 126-120. Kawhi Leonard had that 3-year contract extension. He signed that today, so that'll keep him with the Clippers until 2027. Tonight he had 28 points, so he was on fire, and he's been averaging around there a little bit more in this month of winning so far, in the season of winning so far. But let's see if he can stay healthy and everybody else for the Clippers. All right, like we mentioned, without Big B and Ace, the show would be a little shorter tonight. So
we almost made it.
Yeah, we almost made it, and but we can tell you though again for our programs, tomorrow will be Creeping It Real, and then Kicking It with Ace and Isaiah if Ace is feeling better. Friday will be Entertainment Hour. Saturday there'll be a special edition of Morning Tailgate. Monday, of course, again will be Bro Code, the new and improved show there. Tuesday is Monday is Between the Ropes.
Tuesday
is Between the Ropes. Okay, and then of course you were here Wednesday with us with Sports Minute. I guess we'll get to our final thoughts. Great show, great to talk, of course, with you, Chris, all the time about sports and other things. And how nervous are you for that game on Sunday against Green Bay?
Yeah, I mean, at least there's no Aaron Rodgers. I'm okay with that. But it's going to be a fun week. I know you're talking about the shows. I think normally C2C Rankums on Wednesday. Maybe they'll push that back. And then I think Callan will have his show tomorrow.
Press row. Yeah. I forget about it because, he has a difficult schedule.
Right.
And it was amazing to see what he did with the intro today with the show before we got on here. With the 2 new sponsors as well. So Callan definitely putting in the work.
And then you're talking about the game coming up for the Cowboys. Christy Wilson saying that at least the Cowboys-Packers game will be at AT&T Stadium, with the roof will most likely be closed. And it's going to be cold here during that game. Not like Green Bay cold, but it'll be cold.
Right. I didn't think about that. And I know between those two, there's been some wild playoff games. You think of, Des Bryant with that catch that wasn't in 2014, I think, and then it was, but technically he didn't complete the process. What was the year that Jared Cook made that one? Rodgers made that one throw. I think it was 2017, and the Cowboys ended up losing
Yeah,
that
that was the
game.
next year. Yeah. So he had to
And that
catch that 14, and I think 15 was that one-handed catch he had.
yikes! So I always remember that of this rivalry. I can remember as well the one of Brett Favre's first championship games was in Dallas. I think in 94, 95. The Ice Bowl, of course, in Lambeau in '67.
I heard 2
So
people died in the stands during that game.
that doesn't surprise me, actually.
And then players had frostbite and
Yeah, I definitely
hypothermia.
know that because
Yeah.
they didn't have the technology back then. Uh,
Well, they had
no,
they had coils under the field to keep it warm. It didn't work out that well,
yeah.
but I think there was some kind of outage.
Well, I gotta learn more about that and check that
It's
out
crazy.
because
Yeah.
it's amazing to see how far we have come all these years, and now we have heated benches and
Shade and
yeah. All right, so I guess we'll get out of here. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and uh, comment on all the shows. Check us out on all the social media pages at Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. And thank you for watching Sports Minute here tonight on this January 10th. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.